Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and welcome to Steve Talks Books. Thank you for coming by and watching my weekly update. It's where I talk about what I've been reading, what I'm going to read, what I won't get to, and everything else in between. If you'd like to connect with me, the best places on our forums at pagestewing.com, where we have all of our discussions and plan all of our meetups and all that stuff. We'll get to more of that later. I can also be found on Vero at that one MFer. My light just went off. We're going to roll with it. I can be found on Vero at that one MFer. It's where my preferred social media platform is over on Vero, where I post everything and some photography stuff that I'm trying to get into. So check that out. I can also be found on Telegram at Steve Talks Books, and we have a small Telegram group if you'd like to join that. About 10 of us, so we just chat once in a while. I can also be found on YouTube on my other channel at Steve Talks Movies, so if that's of interest to you, go check that out. So let's start with what I've been reading, and I am 2 weeks behind. I didn't have a weekly update last week. Things just got kind of busy. I had a lot of streams, and it was another one of those weekends when I just thought the last thing everyone needs is another video from me. I don't think you need to see more of me than you already did. Had stream after stream, and I thought, I think that's enough. I think a little too much. So... So let's get to what I've been reading the last 2 weeks. I did finish Clash of Kings, and that was one of our meetups last week, was Clash of Kings. Now, this is a tough one because I like the book. It's very well written. I love the story. I love the world. It's just, I've seen the show so many times that I know what's going to happen, what people are going to say, or at least generally. There's some stuff I didn't know, but I was reading it, I thought, wow, this is really well put together, but I know what's going to happen. Okay. I know most of these things. That there is more detail in the book, and some things happen at different points. Some that I enjoyed, some that I didn't, or I prefer the show. So, there were things to discover. It wasn't I didn't feel like I wasted my time, but it did feel kind of like a rehash again. But from what I understand is that from the third book on, things start to deviate more and more from the TV show. So I'm looking forward to that because it seemed pretty close, which is a testament to the adaptation, but it's just not that fun to read. And I think I did audio on most of it, and I just found myself drifting a lot just because I knew what was going to happen. So I just kind of drifted off sometimes. So, it is what it is. So we're going to have, we did have that discussion last week. We're having the third book next month sometime, I forget. Oh, it's on the calendar. So I was also reading Uzumaki, and it's right here actually. And this one is a horror manga, and I've heard a lot about Junji Ito. I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name. It's an episodic format. So there's this stories. It's episodes almost in the book. And I really enjoyed that format. And some stories, now all of them are connected. Some stories were more effective than others. There are a couple of them that really creeped me out. Not so much made me afraid, but more made me uncomfortable or kind of grossed me out, like body horror type stuff. So overall, though, I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. On Saturday, we had a discussion for it on Varsha's channel, Reading by the Rainy Mountain. Go check that out. And that was with Jose from Jose's Amazing Worlds. So go check that out if you want to get spoiled. But I would recommend it if you are looking for something different, like a different change of pace. If you're into horror, specifically body horror, I really enjoy the artwork. This hardcover, just looking at it, I think it's 600 pages. I would expect to pay, just looking at it, I would expect to pay $30-$40 for it. That's kind of what I would expect. I think it's $14 on Amazon. It's ridiculous. The cover price is almost $30, $27.99. So I'm not sure why it's so cheap, but if you're at all interested, it might be a good time to pick it up. If you are wanting to check it out. Beautiful hardcover, beautiful artwork. I was impressed with all the different artwork. The stories, it's a nice change of pace from other things that we've been reading. So definitely recommend if you're into that kind of thing. I think I plan to read more Junji Ito in the future. I really dug it. Let's see what else. I've been also reading The Great Ordeal with Katerina and Daniel. We've been meeting every Friday, now we moved it to Sundays. We did miss last Sunday because of the time change and everything else. So we met on Monday instead. There was a lot to talk about in those chapters. I'm not going to name chapters, but wow, a lot happens. A lot of shocking things happen. It's early. I'm about halfway through. I think I'm on chapter 12 now as I record this. And I think this may be my favorite of the series, this book. So enjoying it quite a bit. It is wild. It is wild. It's so good. I love it. I'm dreading it for it to end for several reasons, because I enjoy the story and also because I enjoy the podcast. Thankfully, we're already discussing what we're going to read next. So the door has been opened. So hopefully I'll keep those two around and we can continue. So also I did start reading Curse of the Mistwraith. I read the first 5 chapters, and we are doing a few chapters a week. This is going to lead us right into our discussion with Jenny Wirtz in April 9th, I think. So we're reading about anywhere between about 100 to 150 pages per week. And then we're meeting every Sunday on a stream, but it's not live. The link will be posted on the forum for people who want to interact, but we'll post that after later in the week as a recorded episode. So if you are wanting to join that, there's still room. I think there's a couple of spots left. So if that's of interest, if you want to join us, whether on stream or in the chat, go check out the forum. All the details are there. There's a lot. I tried to break it down to make it manageable. And like I said, it'll lead us right into our discussion with Jenny Wirtz. So hopefully it works out pretty well. I've also been reading Berserk. I think we're on volume 6 now, I think, as I record this. Another manga that I'm really enjoying. Beautiful artwork. I'm really enjoying the story. The arc we read was the Golden Age arc. And I'd heard a lot about it before I started reading it. But wow, what a great read. I'm really enjoying it. Really, really good stuff. I love it. I'm loving Berserk. Everyone always told me it's right up my alley, and here I am, enjoying the hell out of it, having a good time with it. So this week I will be reading more Berserk. We're reading a volume a week. I'll be reading the next few chapters of Curse of the Mistwraith, the next few chapters of The Great Ordeal, and I think that's it. So yeah, I'm getting to the point where I can start doing other smaller books. It's kind of nice. So let's talk about the channel. On the channel the last 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks ago, we had Tom Reimer on the channel for the Friday conversation. Talked about his book, Odious Ghouls, horror, movies, a bunch of stuff. Go check that out. Tom was a lot of fun to talk to. I've been watching him on YouTube for a while with Found Footage Fridays. So it was nice to sit down and chat with him and have a good time. That was just a blast. We also had, this last Friday, we had Tim Hardy and Jacob Sanix on as guests to just chat about fantasy, writing, imposter syndrome, lots of other things. That got we got a little more honest than I was expecting to on that one about imposter syndrome and kind of how we manage it and kind of like how we see things, and for creatives in general, just how you get past those feelings and you just soldier on and about art and, just continuing to plug away and just having fun kind of thing. So yeah, I got a little more frank than I thought it would, in a good way. It was good. It was a good conversation. It was a good time. Also, I started my new series. It's Steve Talks 2, and that my first guest was Robert Ottone. And Robert and I had a great time talking about horror and publishing and owning a small press and submitting your story for collections. And we had just talked about a slew of things. We talked about cigars. We talked about, just a ton of different subjects. Had a blast. Had such a great time. More about that here in a minute. This last week, it was the second episode of Steve Talks 2, and it was with Tori from Tori Talks. And we've been wanting to do this for a while. We've been talking about doing it. We finally were able to catch up with each other, and I didn't prepare at all. I didn't prepare any questions. I usually have questions prepared, or at least an idea in my head. Very rarely do I just show up and hope it goes okay. I just showed up. And before Before we started, we were just kind of talking before, and I told her, was like an hour okay with you? Like, are you okay with about an hour? And she said, yeah, like, I don't have anything else planned, so sure, like we'll hang out. And before I knew it, 2 hours were gone. It was like, just flew by. It was just such a great, I just had such a great time. We just never, there was never a pause, never a slowdown. It just, I mean, just went. So lots of fun, lots of good stuff. Yeah, a great conversation with Tori about writing, about writing being therapeutic, about booktube, about reviews, about arcs, about werewolves, about other. Go check it out if you want to listen. As I mentioned, all these things, they're all on the podcast too. So if you'd rather listen than watch, check out the podcast, and you can download all of them, any of them. I'm on all the major platforms, so go check that out. Also, on Saturday we had the Purple Prince discussion, and I'm recording this before that discussion, so hopefully it went off without a hitch, and that'll be a fun time with the author and with Jimmy and Amanda. So go check that out if you haven't already, and if it actually happened. Hopefully it happened. Fingers crossed. Time travel. So yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks. Lots of things going on. We also had reading sprints. We're going to have more reading sprints this week. I love doing reading sprints and catching up with all of you. It's just fun to just kind of hang out and chat with all of you. Also, I do have a new story for Short Story Saturdays this week. It is on the podcast. It is Dark Ocean by Farrah Rose Smith. So go check that out if you'd like to listen to me read a story and try and get it right without taking hours to edit. Go check that out. So, this week, the Friday conversation, we have a couple of guests. Don't announce it yet, but a couple of guests. I don't have all of them nailed down just yet. We'll be having The Great Ordeal next few chapters post, and then the first 5 chapters of Curse of the Mistwraith post as well this week. So you'll have lots of content coming your way. Hopefully you're into it. Hopefully you're into it. So I talked about Robert Atone being my first guest on Steve Talks 2. And we started discussing AuthorCon because we started talking about, cons and stuff. And he said, well, I'm going to StokerCon. It's in Pittsburgh, I think. StokerCon really isn't, I don't think it's really for me. And I had heard that Scares That Care, AuthorCon, was more of a con, like more of a fan friendly kind of thing. Because I'm not a writer. So I'd always heard that it was more of a fun get together. And there's more interaction there, I guess. So when he told me, like, I'm going to be there, we can go have a cigar, we're going to go hang out, have like a drink and have a steak. So I started thinking about it, and a lot of other people I know in the horror community are going that I've met at StokerCon, and some I haven't met yet. And I thought, sure, let me see what I can do. So I figured it out. I managed to get the time off of work. My boss is actually out that week. He's going to Mexico that week. So I had to get approval to be gone that Friday, because one of us have to be there. So it took some energy, some effort. But I am flying out on Thursday night to Richmond, Virginia. I'm flying out Friday. I have a stop along the way on Thursday night. So I have a layover for an hour, I think. And then I fly over to Richmond. And then I drive about 40 minutes to Williamsburg, I believe, Virginia. That's where the con is. And then I fly back on Monday morning. So I fly back Monday. So I'm there for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Have a 2-hour layover on the way, and then I get back Monday night. I get in Thursday really late, so I think I get in at like midnight their time. So that'll be interesting to drive 45 minutes after that. But yeah, I'm excited to go. What I wanted to ask all of you is, do you prefer? I was kind of thinking about like a vlog, and I learned from my StokerCon experience, and I'm planning ahead of time, planning to meet with people, planning to connect with people, saying, I'm going to be there if you'd like to talk. Because I'm really bad about just approaching people like with the camera saying, hey, do you want to talk to me? Like, who the hell are you? Like, who are you with the camera in my face? So this time I'm trying to plan ahead, and I'm trying to, let people know, hey, I'm going to be there. I didn't want to be there like lonely and alone for 3 days. I wanted to have something to do. And this kind of my thing is talking to people. So yeah. So I have some people lined up to talk to. If you're one of those people who would like to chat, get in touch, and we'll try and find a time that works. I'm guessing that the con will be busy, and then after the con, there'll be lots of other things going on, like dinners and, people going out and having a good time. So I plan to have a good time. I just want to have a good time. So hopefully I get to connect with all of you. If you're going to be there, let me know, and we'll try to make something happen. Have a list going of days and that kind of thing. So did all of you want to see shorts? Because I kind of thought I would mix together shorts and a vlog after, kind of what I had in mind. Let me know what you all think, if that is your preferred way to kind of come along the journey with me. And my question for all of you this week is about stories, and why are stories important to you? What's the meaning of stories for you? Whenever this question is asked, I always think back to my interview with Noel Zamat about over a year ago now, and what he had to say about stories. And I'll leave that clip right here.
Well, that's pretty interesting, because I was just telling a story, but this is how humans communicate. This is why I think writing is so close to all of us, and even if we don't acknowledge it, is because that's how we transfer wisdom and knowledge, right? It's by telling stories. It's being around the campfire, on a cold night in the middle of nowhere, and that story binds you together. And here we were in a much different environment, but still telling a story. And I took the opportunity to say, well, let me at least talk a little bit about why this matters.
And before that conversation, I never really considered stories that way. I never really thought of them in that way. And ever since that conversation, it changed the way that I view stories and like their meaning and significance. So let me know what you think about stories. Why are stories important to you? Curious to hear. And one of the most anticipated books for this year is announced, and that book is The Wild Fall by Catherine Silva. It is the follow-up to The Wild Dark, and The Wild Dark was one of my favorite reads of 2021. I've been waiting for this book to be released, and finally we get a look at the cover. So let's go ahead and share that somewhere up here. The cover will appear magically. And this book is available for pre-order. I was going to read the synopsis. However, there are some spoilers for The Wild Dark in the synopsis, so I don't want to read it and then spoil The Wild Dark for you. So go read The Wild Dark. It's on sale right now. And then go pre-order The Wild Fall. It's a horror survival drama type of story. It's had all these different elements that worked really well. I do have a review for it, non-spoiler review. So go check that out if you're at all curious, if you want to hear more about it. But definitely a book I would recommend. It's a shorter read. It's the human elements, the human drama really add to the horror. So there is a good mix. It's not full on horror, like too dark for like non-horror readers. So definitely accessible if you're not a huge fan of horror but want to dip your toes in. I think it's a good place to start. I think there's enough in there to mix it up and not be too heavy-handed with the horror, to not be accessible if you're new to the genre or don't read much of it. So how are you doing? Let me know what you're reading, watching, listening to. There was a band that I found that I wanted to share with all of you. I'm not even sure where I found them. It may have been on Vero. I found them somewhere, and I've been hooked on them, and that is Arab Nation. I'm not sure where that name comes from. It kind of like, strange name. But it's kind of a alternative rock. I don't know if it's prog rock. But it's like an alternative type of thing. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check them out. But definitely something I've been listening a lot to, having a good time with it. So wanted to pass it on. I've been finding a lot of music lately. It makes me happy to find new music. There's a lot of bad music out there. It just takes some time to find it, to find the good stuff. You have to waddle through a lot of crap to find the good stuff, but it's out there. There's lots of great music being made. It just takes effort to find, which is kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So let me know what you're watching. Let me know what you're up to. What do you have planned for this week? What did you do last week? I'd love to hear about it. Let me know down below in the comments. I always love to interact with all of you. It makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for supporting me and the channel. It means the world to me. And this is what keeps me around. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So until next time, we will talk to you soon.